Hello and welcome to the Primal Armor Podcast, where myself and other featured guests will be diving deep into topics that cover the four main aspects of health: physical health, mental health, emotional health, and spiritual health. Primal Armor strives to go back to the basics to give us a better foundational support to overall health and wellness that we can all try to improve on each and every day. I just want to thank you for stopping what you're doing today and taking time to listen to this podcast. Enjoy. Before we get started into the episode, I just want to take a few seconds to thank today's sponsor, Anchor Podcasts. They allow me to create and edit these podcasts for you guys. They're also the ones who distribute this podcast to other platforms such as Spotify and the Apple Podcast app on your phone, so you guys can listen to it anywhere at any time. It's everything needed all in one app. I encourage you all to get started today. Go download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and follow the podcast. We're already on week 6 of the podcast. This week's just going to be a little bit different than normal. It's not going to focus on anything health or nutrition related. It's just going to focus on a real heartfelt subject that I just hope everyone can listen and relate to in some sort of positive light. At this point, all of us have heard of the passing of Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and the other 7 passengers that were on board. This is such a tragic accident that just goes to show you can never take your life for granted. You never know when it's going to be your time. My heart goes out to all the families affected by this devastating accident. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be in their shoes right now. I can only just sit here and pray for them, and I encourage you to do the same as well. I know when I heard of the news, I just couldn't believe it. I was in complete shock. I was just hoping that it was fake news, something that TMZ puts out and it's fake news. Because even though that'd be a sick joke, I was hoping that it was a joke. I couldn't believe it. And those were all lives that were gone just way too soon. I remember growing up watching Kobe play all the time. He was such an inspiration to me in everything that I did. And I know that he was like that to many others across the world. And that's just why you see so many people right now whose hearts are hurting. This was a man who gave life his 110% in whatever he did. He lived by the phrase, no days off. He'd wake up at 3 in the morning to practice his shots. He'd be the first one in and the last one out of the gym. He was just not going to let one single person in this world outwork him in what he was trying to accomplish. And if we could just take on life the same way he did, so many more things would come our way. If we just take a look at his career, he entered the NBA and became a professional basketball player at the age of 17. You know how scary that'd be? How much pressure that'd be, especially at just 17 years old? And that's just where you can take the first lesson and viewpoint into your own life. You may be able to think back to a time, or a time may come in your life when you just have an opportunity to take that big leap of faith. And those are always the scariest moments. Because what happens if you fail? You could lose everything. Money, your job, friends, your reputation, anything like that. But just don't ever settle for the what ifs. You have to take your shot if you want your dreams to occur. And let's just look at Kobe's leap of faith that he took. He could have went to college, done the safer path, and prepared himself for the future, but that would have led him down a whole nother life path. Instead, he went straight for his dream with reckless abandonment to be a professional NBA player. And not only that, but with the dreams of becoming the best ever. And then he gave it 110% every single second of every single day, every single year for 20 straight years. And because of that, he's not arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, not arguably the greatest athlete of all time. He could be argued to be one of the hardest damn workers who ever lived. He works so hard that everyone around the world right now knows his name. And that was just because he was not afraid to take that leap of faith. He took that fear head on, and that's what made him who he was. A tenacious competitor with a drive I don't think we'll ever see again. If you were to take that type of mentality into any situation in your life, there's nothing that could stop you. That's what he called the Mamba Mentality. And I'm going to quote Kobe in his exact words on how he described that. He said, "It's the quest, the constant quest to try and become the best version of yourself." That's what the mentality is. It's not a finite thing. It's a constant quest to try to become better today than you were yesterday and better tomorrow than you were the day before. Take those words and apply them to whatever you do in life. If you do, you would never fail. If it's toward your dreams, something you've always wanted to do, and you devote your 100% into that, there's nothing that could ever stop you. And who knows, years from now, we could be saying your name and seeing your pictures all around the world. The sky is the limit when you take on the world with a relentless drive. And that's just what I want to encourage you all today, that if you've been on the edge of something where you just haven't been able to take that extra step to initiate, take that step today and do it with your full effort and passion. You won't regret it if you take it on with the mentality we just talked about. But what I really want us to focus on today is just the other side of the story that doesn't just key in on the sports aspect of his life. I want us to focus on the type of person Kobe was off the court. You can see from all the media coverage over the last few years and all these pictures that people are putting on Instagram and Facebook that even though his life seemed like basketball was everything, he hung up that jersey with no hesitation, without a tear. He dropped that mic after he dropped 60 points and walked off the court like nothing happened. And that's because he went and entirely devoted his life to his family, to be the best husband and father that he could be. So every time you see a picture or video of Kobe, he'd be with his children or his wife, whether that be being a coach or teaching him how to live with that mentality we were just talking about, or just highlighting his love for them on the biggest stages in the world. He was just the greatest family man after he retired. And this is a man who won multiple world championships, multiple Olympic gold medals, an Oscar for a short film he created. And you know what he'd do and say every single time he was up on that stage being congratulated? He'd bring up his family and show them off to the world. Say how he couldn't have done it without them, and that everything he does, that he does it for them. This was a man who knew family came before everything. He showed that by giving up his basketball career and living life through his family. I mean, he literally died taking his daughter to a basketball game. And that was all of what she fell in love with because of the person that he was. He instilled that Mamba mentality in her from a young age, and she wanted to follow in his footsteps. And there are so many videos out there showing how great of a father he was, not only to her, but to all his children. He put his family first, and that's what makes him greater than anything he was on the basketball court. He's gone way too soon at 41 years old, and there are so many opportunities that he left here on this earth that his family and him will never get to experience. And that's just why I want to emphasize to you today that you never know when it's going to be your last day, or even another loved one's last day. And this just really puts it into perspective on how quick and easy it is to lose someone important to you. My heart goes out to Vanessa Bryant, their kids, and all the other family members affected in that crash. I can't even imagine the hurt that they're all going through. And I can also not fathom what those individuals who were on that helicopter felt as it was going down. While I'm not a parent, I could put myself in their shoes and feel just a glimpse of what they felt, and it crushes me. I cannot imagine being a parent to one of those children as a helicopter's going down and knowing you can do absolutely nothing to protect them. And that is my number one absolute fear, not being able to protect my family. Never take anything for granted. Hug your loved ones today. Let go of any grudges you have. Say your goodbyes. Say your I love yous as often as you can, because you never know which time is going to be the last. Although, even though our life here on earth is just a short glimpse of what's to come, there's an everlasting life waiting for us in heaven one day. It's promised to us by doing one easy, simple task: accepting Jesus into our lives and believing that he died for us. Actually, it's one of the hardest things for people to do these days because everyone gets real uncomfortable to talk or even hear about it. But it's easy if you just choose to accept that in your life. And I just pray that those individuals who perished in that helicopter had accepted Jesus into their lives. I pray that all the surviving families will one day get to meet up with their loved ones in heaven again. They were all taken way too soon. I mean, there were 3 13-year-olds that passed away before they could make any sort of impact on this world. And I would also like to take a moment to just recognize the others that were killed in that accident, because Kobe's been the focal point of this because of all this worldwide fame, but there were 5 families today that are affected by missing a loved one, just in the blink of an eye. And I keep repeating it, but just don't take your life for granted. Make your loved ones and family a priority. Life goes fast, and as the older you get, it seems like the faster it goes by. With every second that passes, you never get that back. So just cherish your life. Love those around you and never take that life for granted. It's way too short to get caught up on those little things. Focus on the bigger picture. Focus on your family. Focus on your time here on earth and make it the best that you can. That's what Kobe did. He gave up his basketball career where he was arguably the best ever. Had worldwide fame. And you know what he did? He became one of the best fathers ever. One of the best husbands ever. And he looked happier off the court than he ever was on the court. And that just shows and speaks to how much of a family man he was. He was going to make such an impact on this world, and it's just a shame that he's already gone. I want us to take this tragedy and this as a spotlight into his life in a positive light that we can put onto it. We can use this as a blueprint towards what type of mindset that we need to take on life, and just to focus on the priorities that we have. Make your life here on earth the best you can make it for you and your family. Love and cherish them with everything you got, and make the days count. Seek God in everything you do. Ensure yourself a place in heaven. Then don't be afraid to speak about it with your loved ones either. Bring them to Jesus so you can ensure that they're in heaven forever with you as well. While it may be hard and uncomfortable for you to bring that up and talk about that with people who you know over the fear of just denial from them, it's going to be way harder and way more uncomfortable one day when you're facing the judgment of God to be allowed into the gates of heaven and then facing his denial. I know who I'd rather be judged by. I just want to quote Kobe one more time as I'm wrapping this up to make a point. He said, "I've done pretty much all I can here, and, God will carry me through the rest of the way, and I'm pretty comfortable with that." Wow. I find peace knowing that he was a believer and how he can just speak to that and just how comfortable he was with knowing that there's something afterwards, how comfortable he was with his belief in God. And I just want to preach that to others and hope they can take that into their own life. It's a hard topic to talk about because it's a very touchy subject. And next week, I'm going to take on that challenge. I'm going to focus on the topic directly on faith. So whether you find yourself as a religious person or not, I hope you tune in to listen to what I have to say. In the meantime, take this week to align your priorities. Build that foundation to become a better you. Love on those you care for, and don't take a single moment for granted. Strive to be the best you that you can possibly be each and every day, and take on the world with that Mamba mentality. Continue your prayers for all the families affected by this tragedy. I hope you all have a great week and come back for next week's podcast. It's going to be my favorite yet.